Welcome to Sliders Beers. This is where an English guy tries American beers that you can quite commonly find in your local Walmart and other stores. Sometimes I try them so you don't have to, but in this case, this is actually the first viewer request. I'll put his name at the bottom here. Thank you very much for requesting it. It is actually a pretty good beer, the Shiner's Bock. And what I'll do is I'll show you the box, I'll show you one of the bottles, and then I'll show you some details. We'll have a quick history of the company, and then we'll try one and see what we think. Right, as I open this box, this was actually from my wife. She came home one day with the shopping a couple of days ago. She says, "I've got you a box of those Bocks because of that guy that asked on your channel." So there we are. Here is one of the bottles. Here's the very crudely opened box, but so you know what to look for in the stores. Yeah. Here are some details. And now let's have a look at the company history. Shiner Beers were founded in 1909 by Czech and German immigrants in the town of Shiner, Texas. They wanted a taste of the beers they knew from back in their former countries. For such a tiny place, with a population of just over 2,000 people, the brewery has a very healthy production of 1,200 bottles per minute. That translates to an annual production that would wrap around the world if the bottles were end to end. All of those bottles are brewed by using water from an artesian well of 120-foot depth. In 1914, they hired Cosmo Spätzle, a German immigrant, who became their first brewmaster and after whom the brewery plant is now named. Welcome back to the tasting table. Today's beer glass of choice is the commemorative glass from the Northwich 10th Anniversary Beer Festival of 2003. So quite the vintage glass here. To open one of these I thought needed a bottle opener. But I was wrong. It's a twist off cap. So let's see how it pours. Now we're getting a foamy head. There's quite some fizz actually, and it does dissipate quickly. That's interesting. I do try and pour these in the same way each time. Yes, that head, it goes very quickly. Plenty of bubbles going on, a little bit more like a canned beer. I'll show you actually, very caramelly colour. I'll come near to the camera. Right, if you can see that better. Quite the caramel colour. There seems to be no head on it now, that's all disappeared. So that's an interesting change to some beers that we've tried, and you know, especially from Shiner. So let me try. It's very light, it's got a slight fizz to it. It's only about 4.4%, and I think this kind of one would be ideal for summer barbecues, you know. Afternoon, evening, barbecue kind of thing, is a bit of a session beer. It's very nicely balanced, it's very rounded, slightly nutty on the top as well in the finish and the mouthfeel. And try it again. Yes, I'd say that nuttiness comes through. It's very pleasant, there's no nothing really bad about it, except I would have preferred a bit of a head on the top, which it is missing. All over, yes. That's a pretty good beer if you don't mind there being no head on the top. There's another thing I've just thought of as well. It is actually, they're calling it a lager. Now if you made that more of a yellow colour, you know, sort of more of the colour of the bottle itself, you could imagine it to be a nutty lager. Yes, you could. There's a bird about 5 feet away. Anyway, carrying on, the next thing to do is to add the bottle cap to the board of beers that I've tested. There we go, these are the ones so far. And I would say yes, I would say that's a good summary. A nutty lager, it's a very pleasant drink at 4.4%. Thanks for the suggestion. Oh, I'm not even there, for God's sake, I'm just getting silly. Commemorative glass from Northwich's 10th anniversary. Welcome back to the tasting table. Today's beer Welcome back to the tasting table. Today's beer glass of choice is a half pan. For God's sake.